what is going on? YouTube, we were back with another video. Obviously, half of this channel is devoted towards, the process that my clients use to get into great shape, but I also like to document the journey along building this business, because that's one thing I always told myself is, Alex Hormozi, right? You guys are probably familiar if you're in the business space. He always says that Jeff Bezos, all these top business owners, they never documented the journey. So he decided to do that so he could teach other people like how to actually do that and start their own business. So taking, a bit of what he says and putting my own spin on it, I just like to do the same thing. To be honest, it's just a passion of mine, just like how fitness is. And it's cool explaining the journey because there's other people on their mission trying to start their own business. I know a lot of you guys have reached out to me on Instagram. Some of my clients even are transitioning or have already transitioned into starting their own business, and they've asked me for my pointers and asked me if I can give them feedback, and figured it's just good that I talk a little bit on this. So, like the biggest three things, and that's what I'll title this video, the biggest three things I've learned from starting a business in terms of not just what business to start, what niche to tap into, what service or product to offer. Assuming you have that down, these are the three things that you actually need in order to make money from that, right? Because you might know what to do, but not be having luck with actually making money and being successful with it, or maybe keeping business, keeping your current clients, or keeping people continuing to buy. That's something I ran into from the beginning. Like I didn't have many people I worked with when I first started, so obviously there was only a few of them, and some of them stayed and a couple of them didn't. So it's like you want ideally the business to continue revolving and just get better and provide more value year and year over year, as well as like quarter over quarter, month over month, day over day, right? So the three things I would say that I've developed and am still in the process of developing, and the three biggest things I'll continue to focus on that you should implement and work on improving, it's going to be pretty straightforward. I'll touch briefly on each one of them, but number one is, and then again, this is for like any business owner or a person that's maybe in a stuck rut sort of season in their life, and they maybe want to make a career change, like start a business, actually go in on your dreams. Like, bro, I was sitting behind a desk with my manager when I was putting my 2 weeks in, or letting her know I was going to put my 2 weeks in and send an email. And she was telling me that she didn't say I shouldn't chase my passions, but I was telling her that's what I was going to do. I wanted to go into the fitness game and help people with that. She was like, well, we have a long career here for you. And, are you sure you really want to do that? Like, you can be really successful here long-term, all this sort of stuff. Which is also partly like them trying to convince me to stay, like any company does, at least if you're valuable. But this is coming from somebody who made that decision to say, like, no, I don't want that, bro, for my life. I want actually to do what I want. And in a way that working for somebody else isn't allowing me to do, at least right now in this opportunity. So I parted ways, and to kind of get back into like what I've learned now, because the first year or so was definitely tough. It's really been a couple of years I've been in this space, but I officially, launched the business, got the entity and everything set up, built out the systems, started to, get people to stick long term. Has been the past year or so, that it's been like a virtually, or not, when I say virtually, I don't mean screen time. I mean, it's pretty much for the most part been just online over the past couple of years, because before that I was doing in-person training. A lot of you guys probably know that, but the past year it's been just me locked in fully on online, and it's been cool for sure. It's a different adjustment, but the three skill sets, which kind of gives away the first answer, the three things that you need to know if you want to start a business, and if you're already starting one and you need to get better, whether you're consciously aware that like, hey, you need different things because something's not working, or you think you're better than you are but you're not, which is just humbling to know and good for long-term growth, regardless of what situation you might sit in. Or if you're somebody that's already successful with your business, but you just want to continue to thread the needle, because just like fitness, you don't just achieve your goal and then you're content. Like you want to get to 215 lean, and then you get there. Then you want to get to 225, right? You're at 200 at 5'7", for example. You want to get to 150 and lose a bunch of weight. You get to 150, and then you don't want to just stay there. You want to tone up. Now you want to, focus on building muscle, things of this nature. So it's like the exact same in business or any personal development, any goal. You always want to get better, right? I don't want to just continue to use basketball analogies. I feel like I do that a lot, but if you, one game you shoot 60% from the field and you drop 25 points, the next game you're going to want to match that and drop 30 points. Next game, 40, right? It's like with anything, you just want to ideally get better, right? So the three things you need are, first, skill sets. And I'm not going to go deep into this. I'll wrap it up at the end. But you need first and foremost like skill sets. And then the second thing you need is some sort of either interest or passion or natural calling, something you generally feel called to and you prefer to do, whether you're getting paid for it or not. And the third thing you need is a market gap, some sort of opportunity available. And the thing about opportunities, I think a lot of people think that like, oh, like I'm just going to find and see an opportunity. It'll just be there calling. What a lot of times it tends to be, at least in my opinion, you know, I've read a lot of books and I've also experienced a lot of like opportunities where I've either grabbed them or have failed to grab them, is like it's oftentimes something you don't see from the underlying, right? From like it's hidden, right? For example, when I first started hearing about crypto and Bitcoin, I didn't trust it. I didn't think it was valuable. I didn't think that's where the money world was going. And of course we'll see, but you know, after doing a lot of time studying and just like hearing about the situations of where cryptocurrency has actually gone, it's made me start to double down on investing into some of those. And most importantly, just learning more about it, because it's like, okay, there's clearly something here. You know, the market has taken a shift and it's also dropped, but it's come back, right? So like you just want to like constantly be studying these, but like the first thing you need is a skill set, because when you have the skill set, now you know like what to actually be able to do, what to apply. This is like simple programming terms, what to do, what to be able to apply to the market gap. The second thing you need is going to again be the passion and the interest for it. And I'm not saying you have to be the most passionate, like Alex Hormozi, I'll quote him again in this video. He talks about like most people think they should go for their passions, and really where you should go is where the money is. And to be honest, like that changed my perspective on a lot of things. But at the same time, you know, if you have a passion for something, like I'm still on that wave, go for it, right? Because if you're passionate about it and you've learned the correct skills, you're going to be able to actually know how to make it work. Whether that's with running a business that's extremely profitable or just one that makes you a little bit of cash flow but allows you to not have to work a regular job and do the things you want to do. And again, the third thing you're going to need is the market gap, because like with crypto, right, maybe some people did that were studying it, that were developing the skills, but they saw the gap, right, and they just had a better feeling about it than people like us, right? And maybe if you haven't, right? And at the same time, you know, people that have, you know, people that has this loud truck with a trailer on it. That's why it's so loud. But anyways, you already know he's still mic'd up. But just like that, just like anything, like when I worked with DEXA scans, essentially I had to go for a radiation course. I had to go for a bone densitometry course. I had to pass both of these. They were combined into one, but I had to pass them. I just studied the information, something that was like very new to me at the time. Didn't know much about the radiation space, at least, and not nearly as much as I learned with the bone densitometry and anatomy, right? So taking a bunch of courses, a bunch of biomechanics courses, I had to take that, but first and foremost, I had to have the actual skills to apply it. So that's why I was focusing on learning the skills and helping people, and then I just smashed them well. I found out about an opportunity. I didn't know if it was going to pan out or not. It honestly didn't pan out the way I'd like. I thought it was going to be different, just because the business owner kind of made it seem like, hey, like we're going to have you here running one of the locations, and long term it's going to pay off greatly. And that's what I was doing. I was running one of the locations, but you know, it wasn't like very profitable, at least for me. Like I wasn't really getting paid much. Thinking back on it, I definitely appreciate it because I learned so many skills, right? But at the time it was hard because I had a lot of bills and stuff. So it's like, had I gotten into the opportunity and also making a lot, it would have been cool, but I probably wouldn't have applied myself as much, wouldn't have needed to, right? Like these are all skill sets, and I developed the skill sets for that, and I also uncovered the opportunity in the market because I found out about a business. I asked the business owner if I could take him to coffee and like just pick his brain about a few things. You know, then there's opportunity where people were opting in and wanted like coaching programs, right? And the people, they weren't doing them, like they would buy one and forget about it, and we reach out to them to set everything up and they wouldn't show up to the call, or they, you know, when we would send them the email to download the app, like they wouldn't ever download or sign in ever, right? Certain things like this. And also one of the other more important things is like people wouldn't be paying much. I think it was like $40 for like an 8-week program or something at the time. And bro, I was doing it for free for a while, but when I was in like 10th grade in high school, 11th grade, I was selling like $40 programs, and like it's the exact same. Nobody follows it. Nobody takes it serious. Like, oh, I'll buy this $40 thing. They get a quick dopamine hit as they open it, the PDF or whatever, and they scroll through it for the first time. You know, but eventually they don't see the results. A lot of times, you know, we're not going to see the market gap unless we look for the opportunity. And even when we look for the opportunity, it's not going to just be like, oh, this is a good opportunity. Like, you kind of have to go with your gut in certain things, and you also have to try things that might not seem like the best move right away. And eventually, like, some of those things are going to stick. And when I was there, I just realized that people weren't taking the program seriously, and a lot of people were asking for ongoing assistance. That's when I transitioned to online coaching and personal training in person only. And then I started to transition more so online, less in person, and then I transitioned fully online. And so you need the skill sets, you need, the market gap, and you also need the passion or interest for it, because there have been so many times in my life where I thought about just like doing other things, and I realized, like, when stuff gets hard, I say this with anything, and I realized, like, this is my passion, and like, even if the business wasn't successful, or even if I was working a regular job or doing a business around something different, I would still be actively pursuing my fitness, nutrition, mindset, health goals the way I am, and trying to help other people with it for free. So it's like, I might as well just use that towards what I'm doing anyways. It's like, imagine if like my regular job, quote unquote, is about this sort of stuff, and in my free time, my hobbies are also about this stuff. It's like, how good am I going to be versus my competitor that's out, partying on the weekend, or not really that passionate or interested, and not really learning new things about the space, right? And how to help people and things of this nature. So those are the 3 things I'm going to wrap it up here that you need to become successful with your business. You need the passion, the interest, most importantly. You need the, I would say that's probably number 2 actually. But you need the skill sets, you need the purpose, and you need the market gap. So in order to be able to do that, how can you do so? Well, first and foremost, you can go on IG at JStride just message me there and be like, yo, bro, I don't really know what I'm doing. Like, can we jump on a call? Happy to jump on a free call with you. It would be different than my typical free strategy call for my coaching clients and potential clients. It would more so just be like a free call for us to just dive into your business, just because I'm passionate about this stuff, and I've amassed success to a slight degree. So, I'm happy to help if you guys are, having questions, right? But how do you actually develop the skills? In a nutshell, you have to figure out what the subsets of those skills are. So if you're a business owner, it's probably fulfillment or management, meaning like taking care of your clients. If you have employees, taking care of them, taking care of the product, making sure that's in good standing. You also have the branding, right? Whether that's the online branding or that's like an in-person business, and you have to do the logo, the design, and the online stuff, right? Whether you offer digital services or whatever, like, you have to have that dialed in, so it at least comes out, looks okay, right? Like, the last thing somebody wants to invest into, especially a lot of money, is something that doesn't look very valuable, even if it is, just because of appearance and the packaging. So with digital services, it's a bit different, of course, but that's going to be one component, and the other components are going to be like the marketing, like telling people about your services, seeing people that might be interested, seeing if you can get free feedback from them. And then from there, when you develop a good brand, a good name, you start asking people to pay for it. Of course, as your capacity to be able to fulfill the time you have available decreases, that's why you can charge more, right? And then you get just more serious people, more committed clients, especially with the fitness coaching business. People are going to be way more serious and invest into it based on the amount they invest financially, right? So it's like, you get what you put into it. If you pay $200-$300 for some sort of training program or course, versus if you pay $3,000 to $5,000 or even more for a fitness or a business development mastermind, even $8,000, for example. A lot of coaches, like, courses are that price, especially in the B2B space or the business side, like B2C, like helping coaches and things of this nature, right? So that's going to be like one way to develop the skills. But like, if you don't have funds to do so, or you're just getting on your feet, I think your best bet is definitely working with a coach or a mentor. But if you can, just get started with some sort of education, like reading books about the topics, reading articles, newspapers, like watching videos or courses. There's so many things. Like, there's Udemy, UDEMY, which is an OG course tool, and there's a bunch of courses on there for $15-$20. There's tons of free ones too. The downfall is, like, a lot of them are in other countries, and they might not always speak English, or they might have thick accents, so some of them are tough. But there are, if you filter through, there are some that are quality. There's school courses, like I have a free school course, right? Like, there are so many places of education that you can, find. But once you have those skills, just figure out the opportunities by taking chances, taking risks, thinking about what you would want if you were looking at it from the opposite side of the table, right? And then deliver, fulfill, offer just that, right? And then do it around something you're passionate about. Maybe like your passion is a sport, it doesn't mean you have to be in the sport. Like, you can figure out a way of talking about your sport so that people that are your customers, for example, are also interested. Like, people think like, oh, like I'm good at basketball and I go to the NBA, you can have a business around basketball. It's like, bro, you could start a podcast talking about it. You could even just have like a business, but then just brand it around like talking about your passions, your sports, right? If you like certain cars, like maybe you don't have to be driving the car, you know, maybe you can just talk about it, and then one day you have the funds, like buy the car, or I don't know, right? Just like certain things, like put it around something you're interested in. It's gonna make it so much easier to develop the information and acquisition of the knowledge behind it, right? Because like there's always things we don't want to do. I remember one of my mentors, probably one of my first mentors, said that. He said, like, regardless of how passionate or interesting or fun the business idea might be, or anything in life, there's always going to be things that you don't like doing. For example, when I played sports, when I played baseball, like I really didn't like running. I didn't like having to stretch. When I played basketball, I didn't like doing suicides, like all that stuff. I didn't like having to like play defense when I would rather be on offense. But those things make me better, right? Same thing with like joining coaching programs. I didn't want to jump on the calls first time. There are times where like I feel like, you know, oh, okay, I've jumped on 40 of these coaching calls every week for the past 40 weeks. You know, I don't really need to jump on this one. And I realized, like, hey, John, like, you're just letting yourself down. Like, even if you get the smallest piece of information that sticks, like, it might be worth it. Like, does it hurt? Like, there's one thing if you have other priorities that are more needle threading, right, activities in your business, in your personal life, but in your career, your fitness, whatever. But it's like, man, just spend the time, because eventually, just by applying so much information to yourself, you're going to eventually develop the skills where it's going to be on autopilot. Like, that's what I've done for so long. I've literally developed skills on autopilot. Like, obviously I'm recording a video right now, but typically when I'm on my late night walks, my early morning walks, when I'm playing basketball around the house, when I'm at the gym working out, when I'm meal prepping or cooking food, like not reading, like all this stuff, I'm listening to audiobooks. When I have time and I'm sitting down, and I make the active time for sitting down with a pen and paper, I'll write down ideas, I'll write down about the process, I'll read books. You know, it's just like the constant application of these skills eventually gives you an idea to grasp on an opportunity. And so those are the three things you need. Again, the skills, the passion or interest for it, ideally both, and then also the market gap, the opportunity. So stay tuned for the next video. Again, this is more of my entrepreneurial journey